Joining us now to discuss BTC price and more is Marcus Sotiriou, market analyst at crypto trading platform Global Block. Hi, Marcus. Thanks for joining us. So Bitcoin is slightly down along with the S&P, Nasdaq, and Dow Jones Industrial Average just now. There's been a lot of correlation between Bitcoin and the traditional markets. So I'm just wondering, what is your outlook on things?
First of all, thank you very much for having me. So today we're seeing a bit of sell pressure. I think yesterday we saw a bit of a climb back up above 40K, partly because, the CPI report was actually pretty positive. There was only a 0.1% month-over-month increase for the core CPI. But today we're starting to actually see some more sell pressure after the PPI report came out yesterday. It was actually the core PPI was 0.9% of an increase month over month, and that was almost double the 0.5% month over month expected increase for core PPI. So this actually increases the chance of a 50 basis points rate hike in May, but I actually remain optimistic. In the short term, I think there's a lot of fear in the market, but what actually matters is how strong the consumer is at the moment. And if we look at JP Morgan's recent report, we can see that the consumer deposits has actually gone up 18% year over year and 4% over the past quarter. So we're actually seeing consumer strength increase. And this is the sort of metrics that you need to look at to see, is there potentially going to be a recession on the horizon? And this sort of data suggests that a recession could be avoided. And this would mean that the Federal Reserve isn't actually behind the curve, and that they are actually on top of things. And I think I remain optimistic. And I think even if a 50 basis point rate hike does come in May, that the markets are due for some upside.
Okay. Well, so I'm wondering, what is causing the sell side pressure then? Is it just that larger global macro uncertainty with the war in Russia and Ukraine, supply chain havoc, and after a pandemic? On the flip side, we are seeing that institutions or stablecoin issuers like the Luna Guard Foundation are buying or intend to buy billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin. We have just found out that Terraform Labs has gifted $820 million in tokens to the Luna Foundation Guard, which has been accumulating Bitcoin. So I wonder which narrative is going to win out.
Yeah, so I think, as I just previously mentioned, the PPI would have scared a lot of people. This 50 basis point rate hike could scare a lot of people. I think for a sustained rally in crypto, we need retail to be buying in mass. And at the moment, with inflation so high, I'm not sure retail have as much spare capital to actually invest in what they deem as risky assets. And crypto is still deemed by the majority as a risky asset. So that's why we see this short-term correlation to risk assets. And at the moment, that's why we're not getting that sustained rally that we're after. I think in the long term, though, when the Federal Reserve does turn back to accommodative, then crypto will will decouple again from the stock market, and we will see all-time highs when that actually does happen.
When do you think that'll happen?
I think towards the end of this year. I think we can see at the moment, houses make up 40% of CPI, and they are at record low levels of affordability. So I think that houses are due a correction to some extent. We've also got transportation sector, which makes up 10% of CPI. We can actually see that tailing downwards. So we've got potentially houses going to be flat in the next quarter, or even or negative, and then same for transportation industry. So I think that towards the second half of this year, end of this year, we'll start seeing that CPI number actually come down quite a lot, And if we look at the Masari's report, they actually predicted to level out at 3% at the end of this year. So I think the Fed will end up being, less aggressive in their monetary policy when we do see that start to occur, and that's when we can start to get really excited again about the markets.
Mark, I wonder if you have a price target for the end of the year.
I think that by the end of the year, we'll see Bitcoin in the high $50,000 range, so around $58,000. But for now, I think we remain range bound in that $30,000 to $50,000 range. And I think we'll struggle to see a true breakout until we do see that inflation number start to come down.
I did see that VanEck, an ETF and mutual fund manager, they're predicting that Bitcoin will rise to $4.8 million if it becomes a global reserve asset. And this theory is based on the idea that central banks may diversify their reserves to include Bitcoin. And I wonder how likely you think that is.
Well, we're starting already to see that happen now. I mean, if we look at what El Salvador are doing, they're the first country to actually do it. And, their central bank is buying hundreds of Bitcoin. We're seeing even certain cryptocurrency projects buy thousands and thousands of Bitcoin. Obviously we spoke about before Luna doing this. So I think that it's a true possibility that we'll actually see institutions in mass start to allocate a certain amount of their reserves into Bitcoin and actually see it as a reserve asset. It's the hardest asset that we've actually ever had by definition. So I think it's definitely a possibility.
Interesting. Just switching topics. Today, the story of the day has been all about Elon Musk wanting to buy Twitter. And I just want to get your thoughts on that and what this could mean for the larger narrative of, free speech.
Well, I think that Elon Musk, he has good intentions with what he's doing. I actually admire what he's trying to do. We know how much he values free speech. So I think it's a great thing that he's actually trying to do here. I'm also very curious to see if he does actually take over Twitter, if he can actually transform it into a Web3 company. We're seeing hundreds of businesses looking at how they can integrate and adapt into becoming a Web3 company where the users actually have ownership in the actual communities. And I think this is the future for so many businesses. At Global Block, we're starting to help many businesses who are looking to integrate, NFTs or cryptocurrency in some form of way. And we're starting to see, huge demand for like consultancy sort of services, how they can actually integrate these sorts of products.
Yeah, interestingly, during the TED Talk, Elon Musk did say that if he, had control over Twitter, he'd want to see it more open sourced in terms of, the algorithms that determine what you see as a user, and maybe that should be outsourced on GitHub and, could be commented on and criticized therein. But there's also this irony that you have this person, this billionaire, who wants to enhance the potential of Twitter as a platform for free speech. But does it make sense to do that by making it private and a more centralized platform and owned by a few guys?
Well, I think there's a lot of unknowns in this all, and we haven't really, had much experience of seeing this before. So it's one of those cases where we just have to wait and see how it plays out, and if this will actually be allowed to happen. There's a lot of controversy behind whether regulators will actually allow this to come to fruition. But I'm actually optimistic with what Elon Musk is trying to do, and I think that it's very positive in his intentions as well.